Okay, Professor Jim Schultz here from my Finance 670 class. I wanted to go ahead and kind of get this semester started here with our first, and we'll call that like a lecture video, where basically in place of meeting face to face and my kind of lecturing to you guys, I'm going to be creating these YouTube videos along the way that are going to supplement the problems that you're going to be working on by teaching you about some of the basic concepts I want you guys to pull away from this class. And I really think that a lot of this can be done online, so that's why we're kind of doing this class remotely. So today we're going to cover the time value of money basics. Okay, now depending on where you're at and depending on how long ago you had, a finance class, this might be, pretty recent in your mind, or it might be pretty distant. My guess is, and my assumption is, that because you're taking Finance 670, you have not seen this stuff in a while. And so I'm gonna deliver this stuff at a pretty basic level, with my hopes that I can prepare you for the more rigorous stuff that you're gonna see in a class like Finance 680. Okay, so here is the basic idea, the basic principle behind time value of money. Money now is always more valuable than money later. If you had a choice between $100 today or $100 in 5 years, we should all choose that money today. Because there are two reasons why. Well, before I get into those two reasons, what do I mean by the same amount of money? To make the proper comparison, you have to be comparing $100 versus $100, or $1,000 versus $1,000. I can say with certainty that $1,000 today is more valuable to me than $1,000 in a year, in 1 year. But you can't say with certainty that you would rather have $1,000 today or $1,200 in 2 years, right? That actually is a time value money problem. That actually requires some computations to figure out, which one of those would be the most valuable choice for you. And so that's what I mean by the same amount of money right here. There are basically two reasons why money now is always more valuable than money later. The first reason has to do with what is called inflation, which I guarantee you've heard this term before, and many of you probably already know what it means. But just in case you don't, inflation is nothing more than prices rising over time. That's all it is. It's just the cost of all the stuff that we buy going up as the months and the years go by. And if you just think back to, there are so many great examples of inflation. My dad is he'll be 75 in December. And, whenever I go home, I don't know, maybe your parents are like this too, but whenever I go home, they kind of tell me the same stories over and over and over again. Maybe I'm the only one, but I kind of have a feeling I'm not. And so my dad will always get into these discussions and tell me about how, like a loaf of bread was 8 cents, going to the movies was a quarter, and all these crazy things about when he was a kid, things were just so much cheaper. And so those are a couple examples of inflation. Now you go to the movies and it's like $50 or whatever it is. I mean, it's a lot more now to do the things that we've been doing for a really long time that didn't cost us very much, a long time ago. Now, alongside of that, wages have risen over time, and so it hasn't been all bad, since we're all now making a lot more money than we made, back in the day when my dad was, 16 or 17, or back in the 1800s, whenever he was that young. But basically, the simple fact that things are going to cost more in the future means my money will go further right now. So I would rather have it today. I'm going to get the most, we're going to add a term here, I'm going to get the most purchasing power. I'm going to get the most purchasing power for my money today because of inflation, because of rising prices over time. In the United States, inflation has averaged about 2 or 3% historically. And it's definitely something that is here to stay. And moderate inflation is actually the sign of a prosperous economy. You kind of want prices to slowly rise over time. because you want to put pressure on people to spend their money now to keep the economy humming along strong. The second reason why money now is always more valuable than money later has to do with opportunity cost. So I left out cost. Has to do with opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is simply the idea that you can invest money today and that money can generate a return for you. So I'd rather have that money now to get it to put to work for me, right? It's pretty simple. I'd rather have that money right now so that that money can make me more money, right? That's an opportunity cost, which is an economics term that some of you might remember. And so simply the simple fact of the opportunity to invest or the investing side of it makes money more valuable today than it would be tomorrow. So that's the end of part one. I'm going to close it right there, and we'll open up the next video with the time value money variables.